Let's consider today the losses. So first, let us consider a topic called losses. All right. So losses in a transformer. Now, in case of transformer or any electrical machine, it could be stationary machinery such as transformer or rotating machinery such as AC generators or DC generators. The losses in electrical machine um, majorly classified into three types. Losses in electrical machine majorly classified into three types. The first loss is the constant loss. The second loss is the iron loss. Okay. Sorry, constant loss or iron loss, one and the same. Okay. The second one is the copper loss. And the third type of loss is called as the frictional loss. Okay. So these are the three major losses are found in electrical machine. Now, in case of transformer, only first loss and second loss is considered. The third loss, that is the frictional loss, is not found in transformer. Okay. So for rotating machines, all the three losses are considered. That is serial number 1, serial number 2, and serial number 3. On the other hand, for transformer, while accounting the losses, only component 1 and component 2 is considered. That's because in case of transformer, there are no moving parts, right? The moving parts are absent in case of transformer. Since there are no moving parts, hence there is no friction. So friction exists between the moving elements. Since there are no moving parts, hence third loss is missing. Okay. So since third loss is missing, you can say that transformer loss is less than rotating machine loss. Rotating machine loss for the same output capacity. Okay. So this is very important for the same output capacity because I should keep a common scale. That means to say for example, I cannot compare my football skills with David Beckham, right? So you need to set a common, comparison scale. So common comparison scale is the output capacity. So for the same output capacity, transformer loss is less compared to rotating machine, and that is the reason the efficiency of transformer is very high. So it is higher than the rotating machine. So your transformer, power transformer can exhibit efficiency as high as 98%. On the other hand, your rotating machines exhibits maximum efficiency somewhere about say 85%. That's because the loss component is less in case of transformer, and the loss component is more in case of rotating machine because there is frictional loss. Okay, so this is the basic understanding of different types of losses occurring in electrical machine. It could be a rotating machine or it could be a stationary machine. All right. So that's about the first part. Now, in the second part, let us, consider these losses in a better detail. So let's go into, let's say, depth in order to understand these losses. Okay. So first, let me consider the copper loss. Copper loss. All right. Now, copper loss is also called as I square R loss, which is nothing but the heat loss. And this heat loss is something to do with the material property, which is called as the resistance, right? And resistance does depends on the geometry of conductor, in the sense your resistance is directly proportional to length and inversely proportional to area of cross section. So which is nothing but the geometry of the winding, okay, and the resistivity rho. Okay. Now, in case of transformer, okay, you have two resistances. One resistance is. All right. Good morning, everyone. Let's continue with problems on time response analysis. Okay. Sorry, that's my control system converted video. Okay, fine. Now, in case of transformer, there are two circuits: the input circuit and the output circuit. Now, the input circuit will have something known as primary winding. Okay. And the output circuit will have the secondary winding. Secondary winding. Say this is N1 and say this is N2. The primary winding will have primary resistance R1, and let's say XL1 is the reactance of primary winding. Similarly, the secondary winding will have secondary winding resistance R2 and reactance XL2. Okay. So this is connected to some load which is immaterial at this point of time. Okay. Now, primary is connected to the source, say V. Now, when you energize the primary winding, primary current I1 flows through the primary coil. And the transformer core is made up of a good ferromagnetic material, right? So that's the reason what happens is that due to mutual induction, there exists an EMF across the secondary as well. And this secondary EMF, circulates current I2 the moment when we connect a load. That means to say, to the flow of current, you should have a closed path. And we have provided the closed path by connecting a load across the load terminals. Okay, so when primary current I1 flows through the primary coil, what happens is that it heats up the primary winding, and the corresponding loss is taken as I square R loss, or you can say I1 square into R1. Similarly, when we connect a load across the secondary circuit gets completed, and due to which current I2 flows through the secondary winding, and the corresponding loss can be taken as I2 square into R2. So you have two constituents of copper loss in case of transformer, right? The first loss is taking place in the primary winding, and the second loss is taking place in the secondary winding. So when you add up the two losses, you would get the total copper loss, say PCU. So let us use PCU for denoting copper loss. P stands for power and Cu stands for copper. So PCU can be written as I1 square R1 plus I2 square R2. Okay. the total loss. Now, normally in case of transformer, we either refer the resistances solely onto the primary side or totally onto the secondary side. So that can be done by making use of transformation ratio. You have seen that transformation ratio I1 by I2 is equal to K, or probably you can substitute I1 is equal to K times I2. Okay, so what we can do is, okay, let's take this as equation 1 and this as equation 2. Okay, so let us refer the losses either to primary winding resistance or on the secondary side, not on the primary winding resistance, either losses on the primary side or on the secondary side. So that is the standard way which is employed in case of transformer. Okay, so let's substitute 2 in 1. So what do we have? PCU is equal to, in place of I1, I'm going to substitute KI2. K into I2 whole square into R1 plus I2 square into R2. Let us open up the bracket. So PCU is equal to K square I2 square into R1 plus I2 square into R2. Or you can write PCU is equal to, let us take the current as the common factor. Well, let's keep current outside the bracket. So I get I2 square into R2 plus K square into R1. Okay. So if you look at the equation, you would see that it is something like I square into R. But just that in that R, you have R2 as well as R1. Okay. Now, the product K square into R1 is basically taken as R1E. Okay, where R1E is called as primary resistance referred to the secondary. Okay. Now you can actually appreciate, right, the role of transformation ratio K. So with the help of transformation ratio K, it is possible to refer the primary resistance onto the secondary side and vice versa. In the sense, in place of say I1, okay, you can perhaps even substitute, let's say I2 is equal to I1 by K. Okay, this also you can do. If you do, you will get R2E basically. Okay, nevertheless, now what we can do is we can take this ratio as I2 square into R2 plus R1E, or put together R2E. Or instead you can take this one as R1 dash. Okay, let's use the subscript R1 dash so that we don't collide with R2E terminology. All right, so R1 dash. So put together, you can take I2 square into R2E, where R2E is R2 plus K square into R1, which we have taken as R1 dash, which is primary resistance referred to secondary. So you can write R1 dash. Okay. So you can refer the copper loss either totally onto the secondary side, or if you substitute, let's say I2 is equal to I1 divided by K. I will leave it to you. You can try out. Okay, and you can ping me in the WhatsApp group whether you have obtained this particular relation or not. So when you take I2 instead of I1, you should get PCU as R1 plus R2 dash into I1 square. Okay. Or you can write this as I1 square into R1. See, this is the reason I did not take K square into R1 as R1E, so that this term doesn't collide with R1 dash. So you can take the copper loss referred to primary as I1 square into R1E, where R1E is R1 plus R2 divided by K square. All right, R2 divided by K square. So this is how you can find the copper loss. All right. So summary of this topic is that the transformer loss PCU is primary copper loss plus secondary copper loss R2. Okay. So transformer copper loss is primary copper loss I1 square into R1 plus secondary copper loss I2 square into R2. You can also write the copper loss referred to secondary winding, something like I2 square into R2E. Or you can also refer the copper loss totally onto the primary side, which can be written as I1 square into R1E, where R2E, we had seen that it is R2 plus R1 into K square. On the other hand, R1E is R1 plus R2 divided by K square. All right. So this is how you can find the copper losses. Okay. Trust me, in introductory course such as basic electrical engineering, you will not get any problems of this kind. So this I am explaining you because this is there in your third semester. Okay. You will be studying a chapter called as transformers in depth. Okay. So wherein you need all the fundamental knowledge of resistance referred to primary and resistance referred to secondary. That's the reason I have taught you this. All right. So this is about the losses. The first loss. The second part of this discussion is to minimize. How do you minimize the losses? So minimization of losses. So we discussed about transformer loss, right? In which the first segment we considered, that is copper loss. Now, how do we minimize the copper loss? Okay, so there are two ways of minimizing the copper loss. The first way is to use high grade copper. The first way is to go for high grade copper, in the sense pure copper you're supposed to go. You're not supposed to go for mixed or low grade copper. Okay. Now, by making use of high grade copper, what you can do is you can reduce the resistance. Okay. Since copper loss is proportional to resistance, right? Because it is I square into R, correct? Resistance. So you can say that you can reduce the loss. You can reduce the loss by making use of high grade copper. Having low resistance value will help you in minimizing the copper loss. So this is one way of minimizing the copper loss. The second way is something like operate the transformer closer to the maximum efficiency. Okay. So this part I'm going to give any quantitative treatment. I'll just give qualitative treatment, because when we deal with numericals, you will be able to understand, the load corresponding to maximum efficiency. So operate the transformer closer to maximum efficiency. So this is nothing but choose a loading factor. Okay. The alternate way of stating this statement is something like, choose a loading factor which gives maximum efficiency. Okay, maximum efficiency. That means to say, let's say, for example, your transformer rating is 10 kilovolt ampere, which is nothing but apparent rating. Yes. Okay. So it is observed that whenever you operate the transformer very close to its rated value, the transformer exhibits maximum efficiency. And this is the typical graph of efficiency versus load factor. So this is your load factor. Okay. And this is your percentage efficiency. So something of this kind of graph you will get. And this graph you will get even for rotating machines. Okay, this is for all electrical machines basically. So see, somewhere at this point you are observing eta maximum. Correct. Now at this eta maximum, to get this eta maximum, you will have to select a particular load factor. So this load factor is taken as X. Okay. So at certain load factor X, your transformer gives maximum efficiency. Okay. The point, which is, let's say falling left half of X, let's say it corresponds to 0.5. So 0.5 corresponds to 50% of maximum load. Right? So that is nothing but load factor. So what is that factor you are utilizing from the allotted load? 0.5. That means to say, out of 10 kVA, I am loading the transformer to only 5 kVA. So my loading factor becomes 5 kVA divided by 10 kVA, which is 0.5. On the other hand, if I fully load my transformer, that means to say, to this 10 kVA transformer, if I connect 10 kVA load, and I can say that, my transformer is fully utilized. So this is 1. So 1 corresponds to 100% loading. Okay. So what I'm trying to tell you is that the load factor which gives maximum efficiency is not 100% loading. Okay, it doesn't give at 100% loading. Neither it gives at say 50% loading or less than that. At some optimal loading, it gives maximum efficiency. Okay, so we need to operate the transformer at this optimal value. Okay, so that optimal value can be found using the following relation. Okay, so this X, which gives eta maximum, is equal to load factor. Okay, that is X full load. So which is nothing but full load. Okay, X full load into under root iron loss divided by full load copper loss. So this is the formula, under root iron loss by full load copper loss. How to get this formula? I'll discuss maybe in the next class or in the subsequent week. All right. So we can derive this formula. We'll talk about it sometime later, because don't be in an illusion that who will give us the X value. X value can be found using this formula, and there is a concrete derivation to obtain this formula as well. All right. So you can find the value of X using this formula. Okay. So just to sum up quickly, the copper losses can be minimized using two different ways. The first way is to go for high grade copper winding. High grade copper winding will have lower resistance value. Lower resistance value will give you a lower copper loss value. The second way is to operate the transformer very close to its full load efficiency. Okay, so that may give you the high efficiency as well. Okay. So we are done with the copper loss discussion. Okay. Sometimes copper loss is also called as winding loss. It's one in the same. Okay, copper loss or winding loss. The second constituent, power constituent, let's study, that is iron loss. Iron loss, which is also called as constant loss. Iron loss or constant loss. Okay, I forgot to mention this. Copper loss is also called as variable loss. Okay. Now, copper loss, we found that it is I square into R, where this current I is nothing but the load current. Load current. And load current varies, right? When you select smaller load, less current starts to flow. On the other hand, when you select high power load, the current drawn from the supply will be a lot higher. Simple example could be when you turn on a smaller load, for example, LED television, your energy meter runs at a slower speed, right? That's because current drawn by your LED television is small. On the other hand, if you select high capacity load such as iron box, what happens? The energy meter starts to rotate at a higher speed. That means to say it starts to draw more current from the supply mains. Okay, this is what I was wanted to tell you. So the load current is not constant. Load current keeps on changing depending upon the load selection scenario. That's the reason, the copper loss is also called as variable loss. Variable. When it comes to iron loss, you would see that your iron loss, okay, in short, it is called as PI. I stands for iron, P stands for power, iron loss. Okay, this is iron loss. The iron loss is independent of load current. Since iron loss is independent of load current, whatever may be the load current value, it could be say 10% of the rated value or 90% of the rated value or 100% of the rated value. The iron loss will not change. Iron loss practically remains the same for any value of load current. Okay, so that is the reason the iron loss is also called as the constant loss. Okay, when I write the equation, you will be able to understand why iron loss is independent of current. Okay, or rather, why iron loss is not varying with respect to changes in the load current. Okay, iron loss. Now, this iron loss is further classified into two types: the hysteresis loss, denoted by pH, and the eddy current loss, denoted by PE. Hysteresis loss, hysteresis. Hysteresis loss, and PE is your eddy current loss. Eddy current loss. Okay. The hysteresis loss. First, let us look at the hysteresis loss. Okay. this hysteresis loss is due to the magnetization and demagnetization of transformer core. Okay. So hysteresis loss can be well explained using BH curve. Let's say B is the flux density expressed in Tesla, and field intensity H, right, is ampere turns per meter. Is taken along H axis. Okay, it is observed that whenever the transformer core is subjected to a cycle of magnetization and demagnetization, there exists some kind of heat loss, and that heat loss is called as the hysteresis loss. Okay, so this is the typical the magnetization and demagnetization characteristics of a magnetic material. Okay. Okay, something of this kind. Okay. So let's say in this direction, the magnetic field intensity increases with respect to, when H increases, field intensity B, flux density B increases. Okay. Let us mark different regions, say A, B, and let us also mark, say C, and this point as D. Okay. Now the area ABCA, area ABCA, okay, basically gives the stored energy. That means to say, when the magnetic field intensity H increases from 0 to the positive maximum value H max, the transformer core gets magnetized and the energy gets stored in the transformer core. And the area ABC basically gives the stored energy. All right. On the other hand, when the field intensity H starts reducing from H maximum, that is from point B, when it starts reducing from H maximum, the energy is given back to the supply, or it is released. So the released energy may be given by area BCDB. Okay. So area ABCA gives supplied or stored, and BCDA basically can be taken as released energy. So in simple terms, you can say that whenever the transformer core is excited by an alternating current, the transformer core undergoes a cycle of magnetization, so energy gets stored, and demagnetization, energy gets released. Okay. Now, in this process, what happens is that there is some part of energy which is stored within this hysteresis curve. So this shaded region basically gives dissipated energy in the core, which is not returned. Okay, the returned portion is only BCDB. The rest all is dissipated in the hysteresis curve. So basically, the shaded region gives the hysteresis loss. This is hysteresis loss. Now, on what basis you will select a magnetic material? Answer is very simple. The magnetic material which gives smaller hysteresis loss, right? Or the magnetic material which gives, you can say, thinner hysteresis loop can be chosen for constructing or selecting the magnetic devices such as transformers or any other electrical machine. Okay, so normally we need to go for a magnetic material which is having thinner hysteresis curve. Say for example, say I have magnetic material 2 which is having hysteresis graph of this kind. So here, let's say area 1 and let's say area 2. Okay, so you can compare the two areas. So area 1 is greater than area 2. So whenever area is larger, hysteresis loss will also be greater. Okay. So the thinner hysteresis graph you can expect from a very good magnetic material. Okay, you can say this is a good magnetic material, and the one which gives a fatter curve can be regarded as bad magnetic material. Bad magnetic material. All right. So that is the reason, we select silicon steel. Silicon steel. Okay. If you look at the relative permeability, for example, copper. Okay, copper is a very good conductor, right? Because resistance is very, very low. But copper cannot be used to construct magnetic material. That's because the relative permeability of copper is very bad compared to the relative permeability of silicon steel. Okay. So this is about the hysteresis loss, which is due to the cyclic variation of flux density. That is due to the magnetization and demagnetization of transformer core. Now, hysteresis loss can be given by the following empirical relation. There is no derivation. Hysteresis loss KH is given as, PH is given as KH into flux density to the power n, F into V. F into V, where KH is hysteresis coefficient. Depends, which depends on magnetic material. Okay, so for example, magnetic material such as cast steel has KH value something like 0.025. You don't have to buy at this. Okay, I'm just giving this for your information. On the other hand, if you consider silicon steel, silicon steel, which is considered as one of the best magnetic materials for the construction of electrical machine. Okay, 0.001. So you can clearly observe that lesser the value of KH, lesser will be the hysteresis loss. That is because KH is getting multiplied with the remaining variables, correct? So lesser the value of KH, lesser the hysteresis loss. So that is the reason, silicon steel is preferred over other magnetic materials. That's because it has very low the hysteresis coefficient. Okay. The second term, Bm, which is called as the flux density, expressed in Tesla, and N is a constant. N is a constant, and it depends on magnetic material. Okay, depends on magnetic material. Okay, the N value varies from, it's like something like greater than 1.5 and less than 2.5. Somewhere in this range it varies. Okay. So for normally, for calculation, we choose normally the average value something like 1.6. 1.6 normally it is taken. Okay. This doesn't vary your hysteresis loss much. This is a standard practice of taking N value. Normally, they take it as N is equal to 1.6. You can see in different textbooks. Normally they settle down to n is equal to 1.6. To be precise, the value of n varies between 1.5 to 2.5. Okay, that's about flux density. Okay, F is nothing but operating frequency or supply frequency, one and the same, expressed in hertz. You can see that your hysteresis equation is not having any current term, and current depends on load. Okay, that's what I was trying to tell you. The hysteresis loss is independent of current, so it doesn't depend on current. Instead, it depends on something like frequency, flux density, and V. V is nothing but volume of the core, volume of transformer core. So this volume is normally expressed in terms of cube meters, meter cube, right? We say cube meters. All right. So that's the volume of the core. Now, one very important observation you need to draw is that the operating frequency. See, this is one of the reasons why we are operating at 50 hertz a cycle. Why the power is generated at, or electricity is generated at 50 hertz cycle. If you were to generate as well as transmit the power at a higher frequency, what would have happened? If frequency is high, your iron loss will also be high. So if iron loss starts increasing, your efficiency starts decreasing. So that is the reason, the power is not generated at higher frequency, and also the power is not transmitted at higher frequency. It is normally generated and transmitted at either 50 hertz cycle or 60 hertz cycle. So 50 hertz or 60 hertz, it is not very high frequency, and that's the reason you will be able to reduce the iron losses. This is one of the reasons. All right, so that's about the hysteresis loss, which is depending on frequency as well as the volume of the curve, you can say. The second constituent of iron loss is your eddy current loss, which is denoted by PE. E stands for eddy current. Eddy current loss. Eddy current loss. Okay. I'll keep the explanation very simple. Consider a square magnetic transformer core, square shaped transformer core. Okay, let's consider kind of three-dimensional wave. Okay, let us mark the direction of flux. Okay, let's say the flux flows in this direction. Okay, and connect the winding, one on the primary and one on the secondary. Okay, so let's say you connect some alternating voltage V. So this alternating voltage will circulate alternating current I1. Now this alternating current I1 establishes flux phi in the transformer core. So we have assumed the direction of flux in this path. All right. Now windings are made up of copper, and these windings carry current. This winding is kept on transformer core, correct? Now, when this flux starts to flow through the transformer core basically gives a closed path for the flow of flux, correct? There is no breakage here. It's a closed path. So transformer core, this is your core, constitutes a closed path, due to which the magnetic flux, when it induces voltage, when the voltage gets induced, these voltages will circulate currents known as circulating currents. So in this direction. So the direction of circulating current is kind of normal to the plane of flux, right? So the induced EMF in the windings circulates their own currents, and these currents are called as eddy currents. Eddy currents. So these eddy currents flows. These eddy current flows in the transformer core. You cannot avoid. You cannot make it zero. That's because your transformer core is a closed path. Whenever there is a closed path, and one more thing, it is made up of ferromagnetic material. Ferromagnetic materials are very good conductors as well. So there will be a flow of circulating current in the closed transformer core. So this circulating current itself is called as eddy currents. And due to the flow of eddy current, the eddy current losses starts to appear. The eddy current losses are given as PE is equal to KE into BM square, F square, E square into V. Okay, so this is the relation for eddy current. PE is equal to KE into BM square, F square, T square into V. Okay, where KE is nothing but the constant. Okay, eddy current constant depends on material. Depends on magnetic material. Okay, constant. Okay, let us not worry what is the value for a typical magnetic material. Okay, nobody, it's okay. We can, refer the particular magnetic material and we can get the material data. Okay, now K is nothing but a constant which depends on the magnetic material. Bm, we have already discussed the maximum value of flux density. Okay, the operating frequency, yeah. V is the volume of the core in cube meters. And T is called as thickness of laminations. Okay, I'll come to it. What is laminations? Thickness of laminations measured in meters. Okay, meters. Though the thickness are very small, since still we will be considering the SI unit, that is meters. All right, thickness of laminations. Now, in this equation, you can observe that there is no current term, right? That is the reason even eddy current loss is independent of load current. And just like your hysteresis loss, your eddy current loss, again, proportional to frequency. In fact, it is proportional to square of the operating frequency. So if you were to generate the power at higher frequency, you should be ready for the higher eddy current losses. That is the reason the power is not generated as well as transmitted at higher frequency. That's because higher frequency can increase hysteresis loss as well as eddy current loss. So in total, you can say higher frequency can increase the ion loss or constant loss. Okay, that is the reason we operate at lower frequency. Okay, fine. Now, how do you minimize the eddy current loss? Okay, hysteresis loss, I have already told you. To minimize hysteresis loss, you have to select a magnetic material which is having very low hysteresis coefficient. For example, silicon steel had a hysteresis coefficient value 0.001. On the other hand, cast steel had hysteresis coefficient value 0.025. So choose a magnetic material having very low hysteresis coefficient value. Okay, or you simply go for a magnetic material which is having a very high relative permeability. Now, how do you minimize the eddy current loss? Eddy current loss is minimized by making use of something known as laminations. Lamination. Okay. So, instead of considering a transformer core of this kind, now in this explanation, what I have done, I have considered a solid core, right? A solid square-shaped core I have considered. Now, instead of going for a solid unibody construction, you can go for a transformer core which is made up of layered magnetic field instead of going for a single magnetic material. What you can do is you can construct the transformer core with a thin sheets of laminations instead of single block. Probably you can take thin sheets of laminations, and those thickness will be in millimeters, mm's, very thin sheets. Okay, so that can be pictorially shown in this manner. Okay, instead of solid construction, I can go for thin sheets. Say for example, this one. Yes. Okay, so everywhere, same thing. It's a three-dimensional view. Okay, thin sheets. Okay, so these sheets are called as laminations. Okay, by going for laminations, basically you can reduce the path of eddy currents. Okay, so earlier eddy current used to get a bigger path. Now you are limiting the eddy current path to only this section. Okay, so these are all now the new eddy current paths. So basically what you are doing over here is that you are breaking the eddy current paths. Okay. You are breaking the eddy current paths. So these are your eddy currents. Eddy currents. So you are limiting the eddy current loss by laminating the transformer core, and by doing the laminations, you are breaking that bigger eddy current into smaller chunks, and those chunks can be shown in this diagram. Okay, so by laminating the transformer core, you can reduce eddy current losses. Okay, so how to minimize the iron loss? Iron loss can be minimized by minimizing the hysteresis loss as well as eddy current loss. Hysteresis loss is minimized by choosing a very good magnetic material, and eddy current is minimized by choosing a magnetic material made up of laminations. Okay, and these laminations are insulated from one another. That means to say, this is your first lamination and this is your second lamination. Between first lamination and second lamination, okay, you will have an insulation. Okay, so this is your insulation. Okay, so this is how we can reduce the iron losses. Okay. For short notes, they can ask, what are the different types of losses occurring in a transformer, and how are you going to minimize these losses? Okay, so you have majorly two losses, copper loss and iron loss, and we discussed about these two losses, you could say, to some depth. All right. Okay, so I'll stop the class over here itself, and probably tomorrow what I'll do is I'll continue with the problems based on EMF equation. Once we are done with the problems, I can take up the construction of transformers. Okay, the real construction of a practical transformer. All right. So if you have any doubts, you can stay back and you can discuss. If you don't have doubts, probably you can quit for today's class. Okay, thank you.